नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 11, Lord Ramachandra rules the world. Text 26. Please repeat. Asikta margham gandha udaihi karinam madashikaraihi स्वामिनं प्राप्तं आलोक्य मत्थां वा सुतराम् इव आसिक्तमार्गां गन्धोदयी करिणां मदशीकरैः स्वामिनं प्राप्तमालोक्य मत्तां वा सुतरामिव आसिक्तमार्गां गन्धोदयी करिणां मदशीकरैः स्वामिनं प्राप्तमालोक्य मत्तां वा सुतरामिव आसिक्तमार्गां गन्धोदयी करिणां मदशीकरैः स्वामिनं प्राप्तमालोक्य मत्तां वा सुतरामिव
आसिक्तमार्गां गन्धोदयी करिणां
मदशीकरैः
स्वामिनं प्राप्तमालोक्य मत्तां वा सुतरामिव
आसिक्तमार्गां गन्धोदयी करिणां मदशीकरैः स्वामिनं प्राप्तमालोक्य
मत्तां वा सुतरामिव
आसिक्तमार्गां गन्धोदयी
करिणां मदशीकरैः
स्वामिनं प्राप्तमालोक्य
मत्तां वा सुतरामिव माताजी Asikta margam. The streets were sprinkled. Gandha udaihi. With perfumed water. Karinam of elephants. Madashikaraihi. With particles of perfumed liquor. Swaminam. The master or proprietor. Praptam, present. Alokya, seeing personally. Mattam, very opulent. Va, either. Sutaram, highly. Eva, as if. Translation and purport by ISKCON founder Acharya, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation: During the reign of Lord Ramachandra, the streets of the capital, Ayodhya, were sprinkled with perfumed water and drops of perfumed liquor thrown about by elephants from their trunks. When the citizens saw the Lord personally supervising the affairs of the city in such opulence, they appreciated this opulence very much. Purport: We have simply heard about the opulence of Ramarajya during the reign of Lord Ramachandra. Now here is one example of the opulence of the Lord's kingdom. The streets of Ayodhya were not only clean, but also sprinkled with perfumed water and drops of perfumed liquor, which were distributed by elephants through their trunks. There was no need of sprinkling machines, for the elephant has a natural ability to suck water through its trunk and again throw it out in a shower. We can understand the opulence of the city from this one example. It was actually sprinkled with perfumed water. Moreover, the citizens had the opportunity to see the Lord personally supervising the affairs of the state. He was not a sleeping monarch, as we can understand from his activities in sending his brothers to see to affairs outside the capital and punish anyone who did not obey the emperor's orders. This is called Digvijaya. The citizens were all given facilities for peaceful life, and they were also qualified with appropriate attributes according to Varnashrama. As we have seen from the previous chapter, Varnashrama Gunan Vitaha, the citizens were trained according to the Varnashrama system. A class of men were Brahmanas, a class of men were Kshatriyas, a class were Vaishyas, and a class were Shudras. Without this scientific division, there can be no question of good citizenship. The king, being magnanimous and perfect in his duty, performed many sacrifices and treated the citizens as his sons, and the citizens, being trained in the Varnashrama system, were obedient and perfectly ordered. The entire monarchy was so opulent and peaceful that the government was even able to sprinkle the street with perfumed water. What to speak of other management? Since the city was sprinkled with perfumed water, we can simply imagine how opulent it was in other respects. Why should the citizens not have felt happy during the reign of Lord Ramachandra? Om Jnanam Timirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langete Girim Yadkripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yudapatakalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parjana Sigitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Asikta Margam Gandhodai Karinam Madashikaraihi Swaminam Praptamalokya Mattam Vasutaramiva. Translation: During the reign of Lord Ramachandra, the streets of the capital, Ayodhya, were sprinkled with perfumed water and drops of perfumed liquor thrown about by elephants from their trunks. When the citizens saw the Lord personally supervising the affairs of the city in such opulence, they appreciated this opulence very much. Here in this chapter, we are seeing the opulence of Ayodhya, how Lord Ram ruled his kingdom Ayodhya. Starting from this particular verse, and then I think practically till the end of the chapter, we will see how opulent the city of Ayodhya was. Here we are seeing how the elephants were personally throwing water from their trunks, not just water, throwing perfumed water and perfumed liquor from their trunks and spreading it all around the city. In the coming verses, we'll be seeing how everywhere there were golden water pots for the passers-by to take water, and you'll see how the whole city was decorated with wonderful trees, and then decorated with wonderful canopies, and also how the whole palace was very royally decorated with very costly diamonds, emeralds, and also whole city, how it was opulent in all aspects, both in a very pleasing way, having wonderful trees, and also in opulent way, by the way of presence of so many costly items like gold, silver, and different metals. So this is the opulence of the city of Ayodhya as mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah, here in this particular chapter, we are seeing how, in this particular verse, we are seeing how the elephants were employed for sprinkling perfumed water and perfumed liquor all around the city. This is one of the very big opulence that a city is supposed to, traditional city is supposed to have. Even a few hundred years ago, we can see how the kings were maintaining big elephants. Maintaining an elephant is not an ordinary thing. That's why we nowadays see that practically there are no elephants in the street. Practically we are not seeing elephants at all. At least I remember during my childhood days, not even the school days or college days, when I was a child, still I could still remember there used to be some elephant procession, not exactly a procession, just one person or two persons, they will just drive the elephant in the street, then go to each and every house, and we'll be able to hear the sound of the element. They'll have this tinkling bell also around their neck. So some few streets before itself, we used to hear that and the sound of an elephant by hearing the tinkling of the bell. So we'll be very inspired. We'll be waiting when that particular elephant will be coming to our street, and then how we'll be able to offer few fruits, and of course some places they'll be offering some water also. And then there also these elephants will be taking the water and then sprinkling on the particular owner of the house, and then we'll be offering some money also for the maintenance of the elephant and also for the owner of the elephant. But that was a very rare opportunity. Maybe hardly 3 to 4 months once we'll be able to, once in 3 or 4 months we'll be able to see such elephants in our place. So it's very rare to see elephant. And nowadays practically we are not all seeing. Maybe in a marriage procession we are seeing now in a big parade when some in a very big leader, the prime minister or the president or the really very politically influential person is coming to a city. We may be able to see the elephant taken in a parade, in a procession, or in a really a very big marriage ceremony. A person, a rich man who can afford such elephant procession may engage such elephants in the marriage. And even that also, not that personally that rich person is maintaining such elephant. That elephant occurs in every marriage, every rich man's marriage ceremony maybe. So not that one particular rich person is maintaining the elephant whole life. Same elephant keeps on coming. So we can see how opulent the city of Ayodhya was, that elephants were sprinkling perfumed water, and also not that they are just sprinkling water, even sprinkling water throughout the city is no ordinary task. No, we don't even see that nowadays also. Where do we see the cities being sprinkled water so that the dust does not come up, and then people could travel very smoothly without any dust falling on them. Even that is not found nowadays. Even the perfumed machine that Srila Prabhupada is speaking about, even there are no modern machines where the water is sprinkled everywhere around the city for the citizens to walk smoothly. But here we see that the elephants were not just sprinkling water, they were just sprinkling perfumed water throughout the city and perfumed liquor. These are all very costly things. We know among the cosmetics, the perfume is really costly. It's more costly than the powders. Then we can just see how opulent Ayodhya was, that even the water was sprinkled with perfume, and that was sprinkled throughout the city by the elephants. So this is a very big opulence in Vedic culture. Even in other cultures also, we may be seeing elephants. Previously, even the other cultures also had elephants, but particularly Vedic culture is known for keeping elephants. That's why we see that the most famous capital of the whole world during the Vedic culture was Hastinapur, and it was the capital of the entire world. At least 5,000 years ago, we see that Hastinapur, it is the capital of the entire world, and the king who is ruling the capital of Hastinapur, or the capital city Hastinapur, he is the emperor of the whole world. And the name Hastinapur is derived from the elephant. Hasti refers to the elephant. Hasti or Gaja refers to the elephant, and Hastinapur means it's a city of elephants. Then we can just imagine how opulent that city should be. If a city is named after the elephants just because of the presence of so many elephants, then we can understand how opulent that city of Hastinapur should be. Everywhere there are elephants. Previously, this is considered as an opulent, keeping some cows, horses, elephants, these are all considered opulent. Nowadays, that's not the case. Nowadays, keeping a two-wheeler or keeping a car, that is considered opulent. And that is not actually real opulence, because, see, for example, if somebody in the recent time, the modern time, somebody is coming to us and offering us a gift of a car, then we'll be very happy to have the car. But if the same person, Srila Prabhupada gives the example, if somebody is going to offer us a gift of an elephant, who will be able to accept this? Nobody is going to accept. Somebody is giving the gift as an elephant, because we can't manage to keep an elephant whole life. It's very difficult. If somebody is giving a car, we'll be able to happy to have a car, but not the case of an elephant, because maintaining an elephant is not so easy. Elephant, it's going to consume few quintals, maybe 150 or 200 kilograms of food every day. Who is going to feed such a huge animal 200, 300 kilograms of food every day? One may be able to maintain a dog. That's what Srila Prabhupada gave. You will be able to maintain a dog, but you can't maintain an elephant. And that practically we are seeing nowadays. People are maintaining dogs. Dogs are generally not maintained. They are just roaming around in the street, and then they get here and there some food. But nowadays, dogs are nicely taken care. They are kept in their house, inside the house, on the sofa, on the bed, nicely taken care. But that was not the Vedic tradition at all. Nobody allows the dogs even to come inside the house. What to speak of entering the main hall, or no possibility or no imagination. Even in the worst imagination, they won't think of cuddling a dog or keeping the dog on the sofa and all. But it is so worst culture. No culture nowadays that people are just maintaining dogs. But dogs can be maintained because they don't eat much. They don't eat as much as the elephant does. Elephant means it's like maintaining 100 persons. Just imagine, an ordinary human can consume 1 or 2 kgs. But an elephant is going to consume, it's like 200, 300 kilograms, means like maintaining 100 to 200 persons. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. That's why Hastinapur is a very glorious city, especially known for its opulence, because this whole city was full of elephants. So many elephants. Generally, elephants are both wild and also domesticated. Elephants can be domesticated. Elephants are domesticated for the purpose of employing them in wars, or using them also to carry logs of wood, or in modern times we are using cranes, but previously elephants were used. What the cranes are doing now to pull huge rocks, those times the elephants were used. And also elephants are also known for conquering kingdoms also. Means in the sense that when we are going to attack a big city, then traditionally all the cities are fully compounded with huge rock walls. It's not so easy to break. And nowadays walls are all just ordinary bricks. It's even a human being can just with his heavy pressure, he can just bring down the walls. But traditionally, all the huge fortresses having it's very tough rock walls, very difficult to break. So the kings were using elephants to break the enemy's walls and then capturing the kingdom, capturing the city. So elephants were domesticated for all these purposes, and they are also maintained. They were maintained and they were also employed. But maintaining such elephants is really very costly affair. So when we see here that the whole Ayodhya was perfumed with sprinkled with perfumed water by the elephants, then this is a very big opulence. This is not ordinary opulence. This is really a huge opulence that practically we are seeing how we are not using and how the kings those times were using. And here in this particular verse, Srila Prabhupada, in the purport, he speaks about how the citizens were living a very peaceful life because they were all following the system of Varnashrama. This is very important. In fact, after conquering, after killing the Rakshasa Ravan, and Rama returned back to Ayodhya, that time Bharata was ruling in the name of Rama out in the outskirts of Ayodhya. He was ruling the whole city. But before entering the city of Ayodhya, Lord Rama was inquiring how the state of affairs in Ayodhya was happening. In fact, Rama, he spoke to Bharata that I will take over the rule of this particular city, Ayodhya, only if the citizens of this city are following the system of Varnashrama. So this is the criteria that Ram was setting forth, that I want to rule a city where the system of Varnashrama is followed. From the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam and also from the pages of Ramayana, we understand that the Lord wants to be in a place where the system of Varnashrama is followed. So this Varnashrama system is very important. And Krishna says in Gita that he himself is the creator of Varnashrama. So Krishna is creating this system. This is not just a social system. This is actually a social cum spiritual system. That's Varna and Ashrama. Varna is for the purpose of maintaining a good social order, and Ashram is meant for the proper execution of the spiritual order. So both are there in Varnashrama system. That's why we see that the highest Praman, Srimad Bhagavatam, it glorifies Varnashram by saying that the purpose of Varnashram is for the pleasure of Hari. Varnashrama Charvata Purushena Parapaman Vishnu Radhita Panyat Nanyat Tattosha Karanam. And in Bhagavatam says that Ajapumbi Dijashreshta Varnashivagashah Sunishirasya Dharmasya Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. So Srimad Bhagavatam itself says that the system of Varnashram is meant for the pleasure of Lord Hari. So the system that Krishna created for the social affair and also for the spiritual affair is Varnashram, and this is meant for his pleasure. So where this Varnashram is followed, then obviously we can expect the class of people who are living there to be very advanced. The people who are living in a Varnashram society, they are not they are considered to be the Aryans. Aryans means who are progressive in spiritual life. That's why we see that Srila Prabhupada often says that this Varnashram is a scientific division. Here also Srila Prabhupada says this is a very scientific division of the society. This Varnashram is this is needed. Without Varnashram, there is no possibility. In fact, without Varnashram, the society remains a society of just animals. Varnashram is just meant for regulating the animal propensities of human beings and then properly directing them towards the real goal of life. So this is very much needed, Varnashram. Without Varnashram, then we can't establish any society which is meant for advancement in spiritual life. We can't reject Varnashram. We see that Rama wants to enter a place where there is Varnashram system is flourishing. It means if somebody wants to have the Supreme Personality of Godhead in their heart or in their family or in their society or in their country, then they should have the system of Varnashram. If the system of varnashram is there, then the Lord is very pleased to be pleased to be there in that particular society. This we understand in this particular example, how Lord Rama was only willing to rule a place where this varnashram system is present. Here we also see that in a varnashram society, the king is also very responsible. Here we see that Lord Rama was ruling the whole of Ayodhya, considering the citizens as his own sons. So the citizens are treated as their own sons in varnashram society. It's a very big thing, varnashram, the establishing varnashram system. Previously, the whole Bharatavarsha was full of this varnashram. But now, because of this Kali Yuga, gradually the system is coming down or brought down. Nobody wants to have this varnashram society, especially if the motive of life, if the goal of life is sense gratification, then nobody wants varnashram. As I said, as Srimad Bhagavatam says, Haritoshanam, varnashram is meant for the pleasure of Hari. But if the goal is not the pleasure of Hari, if the goal is to satisfy our own senses, then nobody wants to keep varnashram. Why one would have varnashram? Because varnashram is all about so many rules and regulations. These rules and regulations are meant for human beings. If at all somebody wants to live the life of an animal, then they don't have to follow any rules and regulations. Varnashram is always all about so many rules and regulations, so many restrictions are there. Why the demons are so much against varnashram? Because it is speaking of so many rules and regulations, so many restrictions. And a conditioned soul doesn't want to have any restrictions, but without any restrictions, there is no possibility of advancement in spiritual life. That's why varnashram is needed. If at all the goal is spiritual, then definitely varnashram has to be there in the society. Otherwise, there is no possibility of peaceful life. Here it is mentioned that peaceful. I was just reading. Yeah, the citizens were all given facilities for peaceful life, and they were also qualified with appropriate attributes according to varnashrama. So when the citizens are following the codes of varnashrama, then there is peaceful life. Just as we see in the forest, there is no peaceful existence because there is no possibility of animals following any varnashram. There is no possibility of following any rules and regulations. So there is no peaceful life in the forest. But if at all there has to be any peace in the society, then the system of varnashrama is needed. Particularly if at all we want to please Lord Ram, then if at all one wants to have Rama Rajya, which the whole chapter is speaking about, Lord Ramachandra rules the world, it means the rule of Lord Ram, Rama Rajya. If somebody wants to have Rama Rajya, then definitely this system of varnashrama is needed. If at all our goal is not Rama Rajya, then we can have some other thing. We don't have to follow any rules. If at all our goal is like Kama Rajya, Kama refers to the illicit desires of the conditioned soul. If at all we want to have the kingdom where we want to fulfill our own lusty desires, then we don't have to have this Rama Rajya. We don't have to follow this varnashrama. But we have to decide whether we want Rama Rajya or Kama Rajya. Generally, this conditioned soul, we see that all conditioned souls are having only lusty desires in their heart. Atmendriya priti vanchatare balikam, Krishnendriya priti ichchadare premanam. So if at all we want to satisfy our own senses, then this is Kama. So we are always ruled by Kama. We are always living in a society where Kama is just propagated. Kama is only promoted. Actually, we are living in the kingdom of Kama. It's whole material world is about Kama Raja only. Even the heavenly planets, even above the heavenly planets and the middle planets, the lower planets, everywhere only Kama is ruling. Nobody is deciding Rama Raja. Nobody is deciding Krishna Raja. Nobody wants to live in a society where Krishna is worshipped. Everybody wants to be in a society where Kama is worshipped, Kama is glorified. But somebody wants to live in a society where Rama is glorified, then we have to keep Rama in the center. We should follow rules and regulations which help us to advance in spiritual life. But modern society is so worse that everywhere. Traditionally in Varnashram, if it's not going to be a Deva Varnashram, then there is also a difficulty that Ramaraja may not be there. That's why we see that in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Kamais taistai kritajnana prapatyanti anya devata. So whoever is lusty, they worship the demigods. Tam tam netam astai prakriti netasvaya. So Krishna helps them. Somebody is actually lusty, then Krishna helps them by engaging them in the worship of demigod. So there is always possibility that if at all we don't want the pleasure of Hari, but then we want to enjoy our own senses, then this is Kamaraja. Always in the demigod planets of demigods and the planet of the middle planetary system, everywhere we are all ruled by Kama only. So whoever is not pleasing Krishna, then naturally they are all ruled by lusty desires. If we are going to worship a person who is not the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then we are desiring the kingdom of Kama only, not desiring the kingdom of Krishna. That's why we see that all the demons, they don't worship Krishna. Hiranyakashipu, he was worshipping Lord Brahma. He was having so much lust in his heart. He wants to rule the world. He was desiring so much wealth. He was desiring beautiful women. So he was always keeping Kama in his kingdom. And we also see in the case of Ravana, he was worshipping Lord Shiva. So all the demons, they are always worshipping persons other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anya Devata, they are worshipping the demigods. They may be worshipping the demigods, great personalities. Like we see that 50 years or 100 years before, somebody was worshipping even Hitler, because Hitler was a big politician, a great leader, and because of his interest in war, he was giving so much of business to this particular person that he was flourishing in his manufacture of the weapons. So he was worshipping Hitler. Worshipping means he was having so much. He was surrendered to Hitler because Hitler was helping him in his business. So somebody who is having lust in his heart, he may worship the demigods, as Krishna says in Gita, or one may worship a very big political leader, or one may be even worshipping a very big businessman. Nowadays we see that even the big corporates are worshipped by small companies, because these small companies, they are supplying so many different materials to that particular corporate. So they worship such big companies. Or one may be even worshipping the wife or the husband. So this is also a sort of Kamaraja only. Because this particular corporate is helping my business, and I'm going to enjoy my senses. I'm going to enjoy my senses with the help of my wife. I'm going to enjoy my senses with the help of my husband. All these are all Kamaraja. Nothing is there about Ramaraja here. If at all one wants to keep Rama in the center, Srinvatam Sakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana, Hridyantasya Vadrani, Vidunoti Sugrat Satam, then we have to hear about the messages of Krishna, messages about Rama. Then follow the order, follow the instructions of Krishna. Then there is possibility of Ramaraja. So if Rama is the center, if Rama is the goal of our life, Krishnendriya Priti Panchadare, no, Krishnendriya Ichadare Premanam. Only when Krishna is the center, only when the satisfaction is for the pleasure of Krishna, then that is Ramaraja. Here we see that how Srila Prabhupada, he is saying, the entire monarchy was so opulent and peaceful. No note here. Yeah, Srila Prabhupada, he is just saying that the citizens were, why should the citizens not have felt happy during the reign of Lord Ramachandra? So when the Supreme Lord, when is Ramaraja, then naturally people are happy. Why people can't be happy without Ramaraja? This we can see the answer is there in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says that, in fact Arjuna is asking why somebody is so much impelled to do sinful activity. So Krishna answers that by saying that Kamesha Krodesha Rajoguna Samudbhava Mahashana Mahapapma Vidyanam Havairinam. So this is because of the lust which later transform into wrath that one is doing all sorts of nonsense. And Krishna says that Vidyanam Havairinam means Krishna is saying this lust is like an enemy. So if at all we are keeping Kamarajya, we are going to be in a place where the enemy is ruling. How can one be happy if the enemy is ruling? We want a friend to rule, or we want really a very good person to rule. But if you allow an enemy to rule, how can one there be happiness? So in Kamaraja, naturally the enemy is going to rule, which Krishna says in Gita, Vidyanam iha vairinam. So this vairinam, this enemy, lust is an enemy. Lust is always the enemy of the conditioned soul. So there is no question of happiness when Kama is going to rule us. So there can be happiness only when Lord Ram is ruling us. That's why we want Ramaraja. If at all somebody is desiring Nate vitu swartakatin fi Vishnu, actually we do not know what is real happiness for us. We do not know that Lord Ram is our real happiness. That's why in fact, the Upanishad says that's why the Param Brahman is known as Lord Ram, because he is the giver of pleasure. Iti Rama Padena Ashu Param Brahma Vidiyate. So the great rishis, they call that supreme absolute truth as Rama because that person is the giver of Rama, pleasure. So if somebody wants really pleasure, which Anandamayo Abhyasat, every soul is seeking that pleasure, and that pleasure is given by Lord Ram, then naturally we should desire Ramaraja. And Kama, as Krishna says in Gita, this is an enemy. So keeping enemy in our heart. In fact, there are 6 enemies: Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsa. These are all enemies in our heart. And if we are keeping enemies in our heart, and on the top of that we are allowing the enemy to be ruled by us, then this is completely foolish, and then there is no question of any happiness. So we should kick out all these enemies in our heart by keeping Lord Ram in our heart. And naturally, the result of keeping Lord Ram in our heart is that one becomes very happy. Here we see how the citizens of Ayodhya were so happy because Lord Ram was ruling. And naturally, when Lord Ram rules, Krishna, he is the embodiment of all opulences. When Krishna, Lord Ram rules, then naturally we can expect all sorts of opulence also. So by keeping Krishna in our heart, Lord Ram in our heart, then we can expect all happiness. So we should invite Lord Ram in our heart. We should invite Lord Ram in our family. We should keep Lord Ram the center of our life, in the center of the society, the center of the whole kingdom. Then, just as how the citizens of Ayodhya were so happy to be ruled by Lord Ram, then we can also expect such a nice society under the guidance of Krishna. Hare Krishna. I stop here. So any questions, comments? Yeah, the chapter this is the last purport for this particular chapter. But there are so many. So should I read all? Yeah. Okay, so I'm just continuing the next verse also. We'll just know how the city of Ayodhya was full of all opulence. So this is text 27. Prasada Gopura Sabha Chaitya Deva Grihadishu Vinyasta Hema Kalashai Patakhabhischa Manditam. The palaces, the palace gates, the assembly houses, the platforms for meeting places, the temples and all such places were decorated with golden water pots and bedecked with various types of flags. Pugai Sabranthai Rambabi Pattikhabi Suvasasam Adarshair Amshukai Zragbi Kritakautakatoranam. Wherever Lord Ramachandra visited, auspicious welcome gates were constructed with banana trees and betel trees full of flowers and fruits. The gates were decorated with various flags made of colorful cloth and with tapestries, mirrors and garlands. Tamupeyus tatra tatra paurarhanapanayah Ashisho yuyujodheva pahimam praktvayo dhrutam. Wherever Lord Ramachandra visited, the people approached him with the paraphernalia of worship and begged the Lord's blessings. O Lord, they said, as you rescued the earth from the bottom of the sea in your incarnation as a boat, may you now maintain it. Thus we beg your blessings. ततः प्रजा वीक्ष्य पतिं चिरागतं दिदृक्षयोत्सृष्टगृहा स्त्रियो नराः आरुह्य हर्म्यान्यरविन्दलोचनम् तृप्तनेत्रा कुसुमैर् आवाकिरन्. Thereafter, not having seen the Lord for a long time, the citizens, both men and women, being very eager to see him, left their homes and got up on the roofs of the palaces. Being incompletely satisfied with seeing the face of the lotus-eyed Lord Ramachandra, they showered flowers upon him. Ata pravishta swagraham jushtam swai purva rajavihi ananthakila koshadhyam anarghyoru parichadam vidrumo dumbara dwarai vaiduryastamba panktibihi स्थलैर् मारकतै स्वच्छैर् भ्राजत् स्फटिक भित्तिभिः चित्रसृग्भिः वासो मणि गणां शुकैः मुक्ता फलैश्चित् उल्लासैः कान्तः कामोपपत्तिभिः धूपदीपैः सुरभिभिर्मण्डितं पुष्पमण्डनैः स्त्रीपुंभिः सुरसङ्काशैर्जुष्टं भूषणभूषणैः. Thereafter, Lord Ramachandra entered the palace of his forefathers. Within the palace were various treasures and valuable wardrobes. The sitting places on the two sides of the entrance door were made of coral. The arches were surrounded by pillars of Vaidurya Mani. The floor was made of highly polished Marakata Mani, and the foundation was made of marble. The entire palace was decorated with flags and garlands and bedecked with valuable stones shining with a celestial effulgence. The palace was fully decorated with pearls and surrounded by lamps and incense. The men and women within the palace all resembled demigods and were decorated with various ornaments, which seemed beautiful because of being placed on their bodies. Tasmin sa Bhagavan Rama snigdhaya priyayeshtaya preme swaramadiranam vrishabha sitaya kila. Lord Ramachandra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, chief of the best learned scholars, resided in that palace with his pleasure potency, Mother Sita, and enjoyed complete peace. Bubujecha yata kalam kaman dharmam apidayan varshapoghan bahunurnam abhidhyathangri pallavaha. Without transgressing the religious principles, Lord Ramachandra, whose lotus feet are worshipped by devotees in meditation, enjoyed with all the paraphernalia of tangential pleasure for as long as needed. Thus end the Bhakti and the purports of the 9th canto, 11th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Lord Ramachandra Rules the World.
This verse, just to curiosity, they mentioned that Mother Shikara eating particles of perfume liquor. How to understand that? I mean, you understand perfume scented water is one. Also mentioned.
Yeah. Actually, even the ordinary. Yeah. The question is here in the particular verse there is a word called Madashikaraihi. Srila Prabhupada translate it as with particles of perfumed liquor. So how do we understand this liquor is being perfumed? Generally we understand that these perfumed items are made of some sort of liquor only. Even nowadays the alcohol, there is alcohol present in all the perfumes. Even I tested once that there was a candle blowing and then I was just spraying this liquor. Generally this Rexona's long back we were using. So when we were just making a spray, then immediately the fire was you're just burning high. So we could see that for the manufacture of these perfumes, liquor is needed. So in that way, it is not drank here, it is just perfumed, it is sprinkled. So it seems to be some natural way. Yeah, in somewhere in Bhagavatam also, in fact, there is some particular scent that comes from the forehead of elephants. So naturally when there is an elephant, there is some nice perfume in that place because there is some something that oozes out from the forehead of elephant. So in that way, elephant is really very opulent. It's very powerful animal also. Very powerful and is also very opulent animal. Yeah, that's how liquor is made. So it is natural to have perfumes made from liquor even in Vedic society. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद।